Hello everyone. In this video we are going to be setting a default profile in your Jupyter notebooks, so when you go to look at your data in a data frame, some of the columns don't get truncated where that data is kind of hidden, but a lot of times you want to see the entire data. There is a one-liner you can add to your notebook, and that's what I typically do, but this is probably a better way. And if you found this video, I think you know what I'm talking about, so let's jump right in. So here I have a fresh VM of Linux Mint. I've installed Chrome, VS Code, and that's about it. I did start Visual Studio Code and did a test notebook. It asked me to install the extensions, so I just clicked yes, and I left it there just in case there's some hiccups. I want to be recording when those come up. Okay, so I'm just going to change into my documents, and I'll just make a demo ipython notebook and start Visual Studio Code. Okay, now if we open this up, let's see, I'm just going to print, well, make that a little bigger, hello world, and if I run that, okay, I need to install ipykernel, and this will be a good point for me to go ahead and switch back to my home directory, ls/lah to show hidden files, and I'm going to look for ipy. And actually, I will go ahead and set a watch on that, just so that runs every 2 seconds, and we can see it hopefully be created. No pip installer available for this selected environment. Let's see. Let me do a pip install ipykernel. Make sure I spelled that right. Okay. So if you're starting with a fresh install of probably Ubuntu and Linux Mint, you'll just need to do this. Do a sudo apt install python 3-pip. Enter your password. And I'm probably going to need to set an option that lets me install packages to the system Python. And actually, I've got another video on that. I'll link down in the comments. So let's see here. Actually, you know what? I'll just do this. There we go. It was right there in front of me. Break system packages. I can type and talk at the same time. Break system packages. Okay. Now that that's going, I think this should show up here once that's installed. Try to run this. I think I spelled that right. Let me Control C. I'm going to ls/lah grep just pi. I am surprised that did not get picked up. But I'm just going to wave my hand at that. Maybe it got created right when I Control C'd it. I don't know. Okay, let's move on. So I'm going to import pandas as PD, and probably need to install that as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and break system packages again. Make that a little bigger so you can see what I'm typing. And while that's loading up, I'm going to open up my notes here. And I just want to create a data frame with a few too many columns. See if I can give us some space so we can see everything here. I'll zoom out. That should be enough room. Hopefully everyone can see. Oh, you know what? I do not have copy and paste enabled on this. So I will, let's see. Let me pause real quick and enable that. Okay, now that I have copy and paste enabled on the VM, didn't realize I could do that on the fly without a restart. So I learned something new. So I just pasted this code, not really too interesting. It's going to make 50 columns, 10 rows, and then just put some random numbers into it. And then run df.head. And if we scroll across here, we get that little ... meaning there are columns there, they're just not displayed. So what you can do, and what I typically do, is I just throw this line at the top of my notebook, put it with my import statements, and that way when I run df.head or another command to view the data, I can just scroll across and all of it shows. So here's where we're going to set it as the default, so you don't need to worry about that. I will go ahead and open up a new terminal, make that nice and big, and I'm going to do ipython. Well, actually, let me go into that directory first. And if we go to profile default, you see we have a place for startup script, some logs, and I'm not really sure about these other files, but I'm going to do ipython profile create, and I do need to install that, so I'm going to do sudo apt install ipython 3. I'll put in my password. Oops, just Y. And hopefully that's a quick one. Okay, that was not necessarily a quick one. Took a few minutes, but probably less than 7 minutes, so not too bad. So, okay, I'm going to do a Control L, give us some space to see, and do ipython 3 profile create. And let's see. Okay, now I have this ipython kernel config file, and that is what I want to edit. I'm not cool enough to use Vim, so I'm going to use nano. And what we want to do is Control End, just to get to the end of the file. I'm sure there's a lot more interesting things in there, but I just want to, I'll go ahead and type this out. C dot interactive shell app exec lines, and which lines do I want to execute? Not sure if the spaces are needed, but it looks like 4 spaces, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to import pandas as PD. And this is really nice because you do not need to worry about importing pandas. So if you're like me, and depending on what you're doing, you tend to have a list of imports that you're always using, and you just copy and paste them every time. This would be a great place to put those. But of course, if you're doing a lot of different things, maybe not. But just another tool in your tool belt to have. And then I want to set option Could have copied that from the notebook, I suppose. Display.max columns and none. So now this should run every time I make a new notebook, restart the kernel, all that good stuff. Don't forget that last bracket there. Control X, Y to save it, and enter. So I guess I should have restarted the kernel and done this as a test, but I'll just go ahead and restart. And I'll actually get rid of that import and get rid of that as well. So now when I run that, let's see, that should have worked. Let me try saving, closing, and reopening that. Let me go back in here real quick. See if I messed up anything. Import pandas as PD. And C dot interactive shell. Going to copy and paste this from my notes just to see if I can spot a difference here. That does look the same except for maybe, I forgot a T. So that should have been interactive, but it wouldn't be one of my videos without a few typos and a few faceplants. So let's try that again. Control X, Y to save it. And now I'll go ahead and Control S, but don't really need to. All right. Now when I run that, you see that even though it's kind of saying, hey, PD, I do not see that import. It knows what it is because I restarted the kernel. And if you look here, all the columns are showing because this was already executed in the background. And just as maybe an extra test, we can go ahead and copy that. And I'll just make a new demo2.ipynb. Give us a code cell and select my Python. Run that again. And you see the same behavior. Okay, so definitely didn't touch on probably a lot of the capabilities of setting a profile, the ipykernel profiles, but this is one that I'll probably use going forward. Saves you some time, and then you don't need to worry about importing pandas or setting the column option. I would say productivity hack, but that phrase kind of makes me cringe. But hopefully this helps some of you out there out, and I'll see you in another video.